Well, in this week's restaurant report card, a huge roach problem for one restaurant.
Plus, inspectors find one place that wasn't storing food the way that it should.
Somewhere in America right now, somebody is sitting in a drive-through lane that hasn't moved in 11 minutes. They're staring at a menu board where a meal that used to cost $7 somehow costs $14. And they're doing that thing where they quietly do the math in their head, look at the total on the screen, and start asking themselves a question they've never had to ask at a fast food restaurant before. Is this actually worth it? That question used to be unthinkable. Fast food wasn't supposed to require justification. It was supposed to be the no-brainer. Fast, cheap, reliable. You didn't debate it, you just went. You pulled in, you ordered, you paid something reasonable, and you left full. The whole transaction took 5 minutes and nobody felt cheated at the end of it. That was the deal. But something shifted. Quietly at first, then all at once. Prices kept climbing. Portions kept shrinking. The food got worse. The service got slower. The experience that used to feel completely effortless started feeling like a negotiation you hadn't agreed to enter. And the customers who built these brands, the ones who showed up week after week, year after year, who fed their kids here and stopped here on road trips and grabbed lunch here without thinking twice, they finally looked up from their wallets and said, enough. These aren't chains collapsing from some sudden scandal. Nobody found a rat in the kitchen or accidentally triggered a national crisis overnight. This is slower and honestly more damning than that. This is the story of 8 giant fast food brands that spent years quietly breaking the promises they made to the people who trusted them most. And those people noticed. They're leaving. And the numbers are following them out the door. As always, this is our honest read on what's happening out there. Entertainment and opinion, not professional advice. Do your own research, talk to people, make your own calls, but buckle in because some of these are going to sting. Number 8, Burger King. There was a time when Burger King had a genuine identity, flame grilled, not fried. The Whopper as a real and credible competitor to anything McDonald's could throw at it. A brand with personality, a differentiated product, and an actual reason to exist in a crowded market. The have it your way mentality felt like the chain was genuinely on your side. That time feels like a very long time ago. Walk into most Burger King locations today and the first thing that hits you is not the smell of the grill. It's the overwhelming sense of confusion. The promotional boards are a maze of deals that seem specifically engineered to make you feel like you're getting a bargain while actually spending more than you intended. Mobile app exclusives, limited time combos, bundle restructuring, tiered pricing that shifts by location. By the time you've sorted out what you're actually paying, you've already handed over your card. The Whopper that was supposed to justify the premium arrives smaller than you remembered, assembled like nobody particularly cared. With vegetables that look like they've had a rough morning and condiments applied so sparingly you'd think they were being rationed by someone very worried about condiments. The dining rooms are another story, not a fun one. Seating that has been telling the same sad story for years. Sticky surfaces, lighting that does nobody any favors, equipment that only sometimes works. The self-service drink stations run empty or malfunction with a frequency that suggests nobody is regularly checking on them. Drive-through times are stretching in ways that would have been embarrassing a decade ago. And when the order finally does come out, getting it right seems to be treated as a pleasant surprise rather than a baseline expectation. Burger King didn't fall apart overnight. It was a slow fade, one broken promise at a time, across years of decisions that prioritized short-term margins over long-term customer relationships. And customers got tired of waiting for a comeback that kept not arriving. Some of them are still in that drive-through lane right now, mentally writing the brand its last chance before they don't come back. Number 7, Subway. Every brand has a breaking point, the moment where the gap between what they claim to be and what they actually are becomes too wide to ignore. Subway hit that wall hard a few years back, and despite the considerable rebranding energy they've thrown at the problem since, the damage remains visible if you know where to look. The trust didn't fully heal. It scabbed over. There's a difference. The whole premise of Subway was watching your food get made right in front of you. Fresh, transparent. Better than the drive-through alternative. You could see what went in, you could customize it, and you left feeling like you'd made a slightly smarter choice. For a long time, that story sold millions of sandwiches a day. Then the headlines started. Ingredient questions, franchise inconsistencies, food handling concerns that made the open prep counter feel less like a selling point and more like something you tried not to think too hard about. The trust cracked and it never fully sealed back up, no matter how many marketing campaigns insisted otherwise. But the day-to-day reality for most customers isn't even the bigger picture, it's the portions. The vegetables that look like they've seen significantly better days. The protein that gets measured out with an almost mathematical reluctance, like each extra slice of turkey is coming out of someone's personal paycheck. The way asking for a little extra of anything is treated like a personal offense rather than a reasonable request from a paying customer. The pricing tiers are so complicated now that you need to do actual homework before you order if you want to understand what you're spending. Franchise locations price differently from each other in ways that feel random and exhausting to navigate, and the foot-long deal that once made Subway synonymous with genuine value has been replaced by something that requires reading fine print and downloading apps and meeting conditions you didn't know existed. Strip away the fresh marketing, and what you're left with is a product that has a genuinely hard time justifying itself to someone standing there with a $10 bill. Number 6, Popeyes. Remember the chicken sandwich moment? The lines around the block, the social media frenzy? The genuine cultural event of people debating whether it was better than Chick-fil-A with the kind of passion usually reserved for things that actually matter. That was real. The energy was real. The sandwich was genuinely good. It felt like a turning point. The problem is what came after it. The hype faded the way hype always does. What didn't fade were the operational problems that were always lurking just underneath the excitement. Popeyes has a wait time problem that has become almost legendary, and not in a charming way. The kind of legendary where people who genuinely love the chicken still sit in the drive-thru doing a mental cost-benefit analysis about whether today is worth it. Drive-thru experiences that stretch past the point where anything about this situation qualifies as fast food. Dining room service that operates at its own unhurried pace regardless of how many people are waiting and watching the clock. Kitchen operations that seem perpetually surprised by the order volume, which is a strange thing to still be surprised by at this point in the brand's history. The food itself, when it finally arrives, is inconsistent in ways that really matter. The spicy chicken that built the reputation shows up differently depending on the day and the location. Side dishes sitting under heat lamps long enough to develop entirely new textures. And none of this would sting quite as much if the prices hadn't moved so dramatically upward at the same time. Family deals that once represented serious value now sit at price points where you start wondering why you didn't just go somewhere and actually sit down properly. Popeyes caught lightning in a bottle with that sandwich launch. The trouble is, a bottle can only hold so much, and once the lightning is gone, you're still just holding a bottle. Number 5, Taco Bell. Look, Taco Bell occupied a very specific and genuinely beloved corner of the American fast food landscape. Late nights, road trips, the moment at the end of a long shift when you wanted something filling and packed with flavor, and you didn't want to spend much. The college student budget meal, the late night ritual, the place where you could order 5 things and feel like you'd pulled off something impressive for $15. Taco Bell was that place. Past tense is doing a lot of heavy lifting in that sentence. The menu engineering decisions of the past few years have done real damage to the things that made Taco Bell worth defending. The Crunchwrap Supreme, a menu item with genuine cultural standing among the people who cared about it, now shows up noticeably smaller and lighter than it used to. The filling distribution feels like it was optimized for quarterly margin targets rather than the customer's appetite. You pick it up and you already know before you bite into it. Taco shells arriving, broken or stale, have moved from occasional frustration to recurring theme. Protein portions that register as more of a suggestion than an actual component. The value menu, which was essentially the entire identity of Taco Bell for a generation of loyal customers, has been restructured in ways that push even simple orders into pricing territory that requires justification. Combo engineering forces drinks and sides onto customers who came in specifically wanting a few tacos and nothing more. The menu simplification that eliminated regional specialties and creative limited-time items removed one of the main reasons regulars had to come back at all. Taco Bell used to feel like a brand that genuinely enjoyed what it was doing, that had a sense of humor about itself, and a real appreciation for the audience it served. Lately, it feels like a spreadsheet that somebody put a logo on. Number 4, Chipotle. Chipotle built something genuinely different and genuinely earned. The fast casual model, before anyone had a name for what fast casual even was. Real ingredients handled with visible care. A kitchen you could actually see into. A bowl you could customize into exactly what you wanted with portion sizes that made the slightly higher price feel like a fair trade. For a long time, that trade was fair, and the trust built around it was real and deep and the kind that takes years to develop. That's the thing about trust earned slowly. It feels especially personal when a brand starts dismantling it. And Chipotle's customers have been watching the dismantling happen in real time, with the specific frustration of people who were genuinely invested. The portion size conversation has been the loudest, and it's not a subtle situation. Customers started putting their bowls on kitchen scales and posting the results side by side online, discovering that the same order at the same location could vary by a genuinely shocking amount, depending on who was behind the counter and what the throughput pressure was that hour. App orders coming in consistently lighter than in-person ones, as if the algorithm quietly decided that the person who couldn't see their food being made deserved a little less of it. The build-your-own experience that was supposed to feel empowering started feeling like a negotiation you had to prepare for, like you had to perform being an assertive but not difficult customer, just to get a normal amount of food for the price you were paying. The prices have moved steadily upward through all of it. A bowl that felt like a genuinely fair premium a decade ago has crossed into territory where regulars are running the math and coming up with uncomfortable answers. Add guacamole, which is basically non-negotiable if you're doing Chipotle properly, and a weekday lunch becomes a financial commitment you think about in advance. The food safety incidents from several years back left trust fractures that marketing campaigns never fully addressed. And the rapid expansion stretched quality control in ways that showed up in real dining rooms on real visits. Chipotle is still popular, but the feeling that you're genuinely getting something special for what you're paying, that feeling is gone. And for this particular brand, that feeling was the whole product. Number 3, Starbucks. This one takes a moment of real honesty because Starbucks was genuinely excellent at what it did. The green mermaid on the corner, the exact drink you wanted made exactly how you wanted it. The way it slotted into a morning routine with such precision that it became automatic. The treat that stopped feeling like a treat because you did it every single day and it always worked. That was the trick Starbucks pulled off for years. And it was an impressive one. It worked until the math stopped being ignorable. The price escalation at Starbucks has been dramatic enough that customers who once grabbed their drink without a second thought now pause at the register in a way that breaks the whole spell. A latte that used to sit comfortably at $4 has moved through $5 and $6 and is pushing $7 in a lot of markets. Specialty drinks with the customizations that made Starbucks feel personal push higher still. Add the alternative milk, add an extra shot, add the flavor syrup, and you're holding a paper cup that costs as much as a sit-down lunch somewhere else. For daily regulars, the annual total is enough to cause a real reckoning. People started doing that math, and then they started making coffee at home. The loyalty program restructuring made rewards feel less like genuine appreciation and more like a system engineered to require more of you to get what you used to earn easily. The mobile app created its own category of frustration, pickup areas that became crowded pressure points, in-store and app customers competing for the same counter attention, drinks sitting on a shelf getting cold while their owners searched a crowd to find them. The warm, unhurried atmosphere that made Starbucks feel like somewhere worth stopping has been traded for a throughput-optimized environment where the energy is less third place and more, please collect your order and move along. Starbucks is not collapsing, but the automatic daily visit that required no justification, that's no longer automatic for a lot of people, and that shift is showing up exactly where it counts. Number 2, McDonald's. The Golden Arches used to be the closest thing America had to a universal guarantee. It didn't matter where you were. You knew what the food tasted like. You knew roughly what it cost. You knew it would be fast. McDonald's was the floor, the baseline, the thing you could always count on when everything else was uncertain. That predictability was the product as much as the food was. And for a long time, the price made the whole thing essentially inarguable. The price is now the argument. Meals that used to come in comfortably under $10 now sit above it, and in enough markets they sit well above it. The dollar menu that was a cultural institution and a genuine lifeline for budget-conscious families is gone, replaced by a tiered structure where most items start at prices that would have bought multiple things not that long ago. Happy Meals have crossed into pricing territory that makes parents do a visible double-take at the register. And through all of this, the portions have been moving in the wrong direction. Quarter pounders that seem to have received a quiet, philosophical reinterpretation of what a quarter means. Fry servings arriving lukewarm and under-seasoned. Nugget counts that feel like someone did the math and then rounded deliberately downward. The touchscreen kiosks that were supposed to modernize the experience translated in practice to standing in front of a screen, being systematically upsold while the line behind you built. Technical problems turn a fast food order into a waiting exercise that defeats the entire premise. Order accuracy has become something you verify in the parking lot before pulling away, which is not how this is supposed to work. McDonald's has tried to respond. They've launched value promotions, acknowledged publicly that pricing pushed away the exact households the brand was built to serve, and introduced franchise guidelines aimed at reining in the price creep. But there is a meaningful distance between acknowledging a problem and actually closing it, and the customers who left are not sitting outside with engines running, waiting to be invited back in. Number 1, Wendy's. Wendy's always operated with a particular swagger: the square patties, the never-frozen beef, the marketing that was sharp without being alienating and funny without trying too hard. It positioned itself as the considered choice, the one you made when you thought about it for 2 seconds and decided you wanted better than the baseline. You chose Wendy's. You didn't just end up there by default. That distinction was real, and the brand leaned into it hard for a long time. The pricing reality that has settled in over recent years has made that distinction increasingly hard to justify at the register. Combo meals now sit at prices where the premium logic starts to unravel in real time. The value deals that built genuine loyalty have been repackaged with app requirements and restrictions that add friction to a transaction that was supposed to be simple and satisfying. The fresh beef promise that genuinely separated Wendy's from the frozen competition has collided with preparation realities that deliver burgers arriving overcooked and dry, assembled with a carelessness that doesn't match the premium you just paid. Condiments applied so sparingly on a signature sandwich that something clearly tastes like it's missing, because something is. The Frosty, a brand icon for decades and one of the most defensible items in all of fast food, has drifted in ways that longtime fans notice and discuss openly. Chicken nuggets that have quietly and without announcement gotten smaller. Fry quantities that don't map to the pricing tier attached to them. The general creeping sense felt by people who've been coming for years and have a clear reference point that each visit delivers a measurably smaller version of the last one, while the price on the board moves the other direction. The social media personality that made Wendy's feel genuinely relatable has been operating in an entirely different reality from the actual restaurants. And the gap between what the brand says online and what you experience standing at a counter has become hard to unsee once you've noticed it. Wendy's built its whole identity on caring more than the competition. The customers who bought into that idea are now reconsidering their position, one disappointing visit at a time. Here's the thing that ties all 8 of these together. None of them lost their customers with one catastrophic decision. There was no single bad day that broke it all. It was the accumulation, the price increase that felt like too much, followed by the portion that felt like not enough, followed by the cold fries, followed by the wrong order, followed by the wait time that made the word fast feel like a punchline. Each one of those moments gets filed away somewhere, and at some point, a customer who has been quietly cataloging disappointments for months crosses a threshold they didn't know they were approaching, and they just stop coming. No announcement, no formal complaint. They just stop. What they move toward isn't always fancier. It's not always cheaper either. Sometimes it's a local spot where somebody treats the visit like it matters and remembers what you ordered last time. Sometimes it's just making something at home and discovering that the effort is less than expected and the result is better than what they were getting. Sometimes it's a smaller regional chain that hasn't yet decided the customer's loyalty is something that can be harvested indefinitely without reinvestment. The fast food industry spent decades building an extraordinary amount of trust with an extraordinary number of people. That trust was the real asset. More than the real estate, more than the brand recognition, more than any individual menu item. And the 8 brands you just heard about made a collective choice. Through pricing strategies and portion decisions and operational shortcuts and years of compounding small betrayals, that the trust was a resource they could draw down without ever replenishing it. That turned out to be the wrong bet. Customers don't hold press conferences when they leave. They don't write strongly worded letters. They just quietly stop pulling into the parking lot. And these 8 brands are now learning in earnings calls and declining traffic numbers and shuttered locations that there is no marketing campaign powerful enough to fully compensate for the accumulated experience of making someone feel like they got taken again and again and again. As always, this is our take on it. Do your own research, trust your own experience, make your own calls. But if any of this put words to something you've been silently feeling at the drive-thru lately, you are absolutely not alone. Drop a comment telling us which one you finally walked away from and what the moment was that pushed you over the edge. See you in the next one.